Well, Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton campaigning very hard to attract those young voters. And it's not just the Democrats. Across the political spectrum, young voters are playing a big part in this presidential race. So with us this morning to talk about that is Jehmu Greene, a Democratic strategist and former president of Rock the Vote. She is in Austin, Texas. And Jessica Echard, executive director of Eagle Forum, which is a conservative grassroots organization. She is in Washington. Ladies, thanks for joining us this morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. All right, Jamie, let me start with you. It's estimated that the electorate is going to be about, 25% of young people. So when we look at those numbers, the candidates obviously looking very hard at those numbers. What is most important to young people today? What are the issues that are causing them to get out there and vote?
Well, I think that if you look at the fact that college tuition rates have risen almost 40% in the last 7 years, that's definitely a driving factor. The war in Iraq is absolutely touching this generation. But I think one of the biggest things that's actually bringing them out is that the candidates are reaching them with a message of hope and change in the case of Barack Obama. And they're actually reaching them by spending their resources to talk to them, to turn them out, which is not something we've seen. Bill Clinton was the initial Rock the Vote president when he went on MTV and he went on Arsenio Hall. And we've seen more of that from candidates, but not so much just from the pop culture standpoint, but from actually phone banking, from knocking on doors, from using young people to do peer-to-peer organizing, and that's working.
But you know, it's not just on the Democratic side. You know, the Republicans are trying to get out there as well. We're seeing a lot of internet use, especially for Ron Paul. So let me ask you, Jessica, I mean, do you agree when it comes to the issues? Is that what really sparking young people to not only vote in the primaries, but look forward to this election?
Well, actually, I think a lot of young people care about the same issues that the entire electorate does. For example, in just 2 weeks here in Washington, tens of thousands of young people will be making their way here for the annual March for Life. So they care about the life issue. They care about the economy. They care about their jobs as they come out of college, as well as the fact that a lot of young people will be paying taxes for the first time on a serious scale. So they want to know who's going to raise their taxes and who's going to give them a better shot at having a job. And also, a lot of these young voters are actually Reagan babies. They were born during President Reagan's 2 terms. So I see a lot of similarities on the conservative side between voters in general and conservative young voters.
And you know, it's not just about getting that message of change out. It's also about how this looks. It's perception. I want to show you some video of Hillary Clinton on the campaign trail. First in Iowa, you know, when she started to speak, you saw family members behind her. You saw some of the old establishment behind her. But then when she got to New Hampshire, that view changed a lot. We're going to throw some of that video up for you right now, if we can get that rolling. But you saw young people behind her. You didn't see Bill behind her. So this is part of trying to change the image. And I have to ask you, Jehmu, is that her way of not only courting young people, but also saying, Barack Obama, you're not the only one in this game?
Absolutely. She got off that plane in New Hampshire after her loss in Iowa, and she said, this campaign is about young voters. I'm about results over rhetoric. And she ended up actually winning voters between the age of 25 and 30, a segment of the population that she lost in big numbers in Iowa. And she was able to turn that around by bringing young single women over to her side. But the one thing I also want to add is that Democrats are the big winner here, because if you look at New Hampshire, 61% of that record turnout in New Hampshire of young people went to vote for Democrats in the primary, where 39% only voted for Republicans.
Well, why
and the same
is
thing
that?
was in Iowa, because they're voting for change.
Well,
they are inspired by the Democratic candidates.
Every candidate is saying, I'm the candidate of change. Jessica, why is it that we're seeing it really weigh heavily on the Democratic side?
Well, I think that you mentioned earlier that Ron Paul has created a tremendous uprising among young people. He and even Mitt Romney have both have pretty good youth turnout and youth engagement. I think in general, younger people are just now starting to look and get engaged in the primary. So I think that they're still wanting to know more about the candidates. And in fact, that is one thing that I think on both sides you see that young people want to know more. They have more access to information.
Let's talk about that access, because they're using things like MySpace, Facebook, YouTube, all these other internet outlets to try to find out about the candidates and push others within that age group to go out and vote and get involved. Is this a new way of campaigning? Is this like the wave of the future when it comes to presidential politics?
Absolutely. I think when you look at the impact of online organizing, online voter registration, the folks at Rock the Vote this year are predicting that they're going to register 2 million new voters, young voters, to vote online at rockthevote.com. That is amazing. If you look at the support Barack Obama has on Facebook and all of the activity that is happening online, it's great. But I think, again, because the candidates have incorporated youth voter outreach into their grassroots operations, it's a perfect storm. And that's why this year, really young voters are in the pole position. The fact that they voted in larger numbers than senior citizens did in New Hampshire shows that this generation is voting with a vengeance.
They're invested and they are involved. And I wish we had so much more time to talk on many of these issues, because not only is it the internet, but these candidates are also trying to woo high school students who will be of voting age by the time the presidential race gets to the ballots. And we'll be talking with you about that. Hopefully we can get you both back on the show at some point. Thank you, ladies, this morning. We do appreciate it.
Thanks, Betty.
Thank you.